Hi, G. Murray Thomas here, continuing to read from my book, Living the Sundown, about caring for parents with dementia. Today I'm going to relay a incident which changed things dramatically. As often happens in these situations, something goes wrong or happens and everything's different after that. And this was that incident for us, or one of them. On Sunday, my father and I were downstairs working on some problem on his computer when there was a loud crash, followed by an even louder scream. I immediately knew what it was. Fairly early in my time here, watching my mother struggle to stand or even walk, I thought, it's not a question of whether she is going to fall and hurt herself, it's a question of when. We ran upstairs. My mother had been trying to get up from the table, probably to see what we were doing, and lost her balance. My father tried to comfort her, including moving her from lying on the floor to sitting up, despite my insistence that he not do that. I called 911. It took the EMTs some time to figure out how to get my mother into the ambulance without hurting her more. They took her to the hospital. That day she was in such pain that all she could do was stare at us, uncomprehending, and then scream. We sat there in her hospital room, feeling helpless. On Monday she had surgery. After surgery she was still in a daze of drugs and pain, still mostly just stared at us. Tuesday she didn't know what was happening. She had a story about a play where gangsters broke into the house and broke her leg. I eventually realized the gangsters were the EMTs, who probably did hurt her in the process of moving her. She had no real memory of what happened. She would try to get out of bed, and I would tell her she had a broken leg. I do? Who broke it? By the end of the day, she was accusing us of dumping her there, trying to get rid of her. Her dementia jumped a level or two. I expected this, but wasn't prepared for the reality, for the severity. I had heard many times that breaking a hip was the start of the end for the elderly. Now I was afraid that she might not only not recover physically, but mentally as well, that she might be forever in this fog. This took a toll on my father as well. At first he was heartbroken to see how much pain he was in, but once her dementia came out, he became confused, not understanding what was happening to the woman he had known. Overall, he was exhausted, not completely sure what was going on. Not that anything had changed, he was just confused. So they fixed up her leg, they put her in rehab. It came time for her to get home from rehab. And then, my mother was supposed to come home from rehab on Wednesday. That morning, they told her they couldn't release her until she had 24/7 in-home care lined up. We had been trying for 2 weeks to do that. Nearly every day, while my father was with my mother, I was in the other room of her suite calling agencies. Everyone told us that they didn't have anyone who could come to our little town. Or else I was in the head nurse's office trying to figure out a solution to all of this. So she was stuck in long-term care for the indefinite future. Eventually, we did find some private hire caregivers, and we were able to bring her home. And the silver lining of that was that we now had caregivers, something she and my father had both resisted at that point, and obviously would continue to resist, except they had no choice. She was going to be stuck in rehab until we got caregivers, so they had to accept them. And for the most part, they accepted them going forward. There were moments when my mother got very angry, denying that she needed any help. And my father would insist that he was fully capable of taking care of her, which he wasn't. But the caregivers became part of the routine. They came in the morning and the evening, and both my parents got used to them, which was a saving grace for me, let me tell you. So, again, my book, Living the Sundown, available online, wherever you get books. And I will tell you more as we go along. Thank you.